Hey everybody, thank you for checking out Performance Anxiety on the Pantheon Podcast Network. I am your host, Mark, and I want to thank our sponsor, AKG, for sending us their Podcaster Essentials Kit. The Lyra mic and the headphones that come in the kit are awesome. And if you've ever thought about starting your own podcast, it's the best, most affordable way to do that. One of the benefits of doing this podcast is being introduced to new bands by my guests. Early on, I had Leah Shapiro and Peter Hayes from Black Rebel Motorcycle Club on the show. After the recording, they both said I have to have the guys from a band called Restavrant on. That's Restavrant with a V. Well, it took a little while, but we finally made it happen. Troy Murrah from Restavrant is my guest, and he got started playing music a little later than most, because he ruined his chances at guitar lessons by skipping piano lessons as a kid. But he got a chance later on after a relationship ended. He taught himself slide guitar by watching as many tapes and DVDs of his favorite blues guitarists as he could find. He started playing out and chose the name Restavrant as a kind of joke, and now he's stuck with it. His sense of humor rears its head all over the place, like using typos on albums on purpose. And in addition to music, Troy also creates quilt-based wooden works of art called Built Quilt. He started the project as a memorial for his mother, and it's grown so much that he was asked to write a book about it. So check out Restavrant.com, Restavrant. They're pretty easy to find on social media, too. Their high-energy, dirty blues rock is definitely worth checking out. You can also check out our social media at Performance ANX. You can help support the show at ko-fi.com/performanceanxiety. Merch is at performanceanx.threadless.com. And check out the other great shows on the Pantheon Podcast Network. There's absolutely something for everyone. Now, I hope I've worked up your appetite for Troy Murrah of Restavrant on Performance Anxiety, part of the Pantheon Podcast Network.
This is the Performance Anxiety podcast. I'm Troy Murrah from Restavrant, Restavrant. I'm the singer, songwriter, guitar player. Tyler is the drummer. We have just released an EP. Well, not just released, but it's been out for about a month and a half, called 4 for Being Physical. Go check it out at restavrant.com or on Spotify or Apple Music, any of those outlets, via online, or place an order to get the vinyl out on New High Recordings. Is that good? All right, awesome.
I'm not recording the video, it's just the audio, so.
Oh, just the audio?
Yep.
Good. Doesn't matter at all.
Right, exactly.
I'll sit back and relax then.
Exactly. Go have a drink, just relax.
Yeah, I just opened a drink. So, I was rehearsing, and then, because weirdly, we are going to play a couple shows.
Yeah, I saw. Thank you for coming on. This is going to be awesome. I really have been enjoying getting to know the music. You know, it's really, really cool stuff.
Thanks, man. I'm glad guest Pete or Rob, whoever turned you on or turned you over to us, I'll thank them later.
Yeah, it was Pete and Leah. Actually, the very first time they came on the podcast, they were singing your praises, and they said, "You got to get Troy from Restavrant on." Like, okay. And then I had him on again a while later, and they're like, really reach out to him. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it. So yeah. It took a little while, but.
No, I'm glad you did. And those guys, like all three of them, I mean, we can't be more grateful and appreciative of them. I mean, we're obviously, and I don't even, I almost just like, I know that we're just a little shitty band, but they've always kind of offered us shows or tours and kind of just have been great supporters of what we do. And I've always been like, man, every time it's like, thank you so much for having like inviting us to be a part of this or that. So.
Well, every time I look through my shows and I see that they've been on twice, I'm like, why? Why did they decide that this was okay? I love them to death. They're just... I
think all three of them are really sweet. That's like, I can start rambling, so I'll just go off. Like, that's once especially now that my day is kind of like, I don't have to nothing's on the back burner, like the side of my mind. I sat down with a drink and I can like just like you and I just chat now. So now I'm undistracted, semi.
Yeah. Until that knock on the door.
I was like talking about Leah, or like us, the artists, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Us creators of being a little bit scatterbrained at times. But anyway, so yeah. And again, Tyler and I'm Troy from Restavrant. Tyler is the drummer who's played with me for probably close to 10 years now. He wasn't the original, but, and again, I think now, like, he and I are super close. There's no way to avoid it because we've been around each other so much through tours or through whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Experiences in life, relationships, et cetera, et cetera. So I can easily talk about him without feeling. I think it's one of those things. Is like I know him better than he may know himself. Yeah. But no, that's not true. You can't ever say that about anybody. But anyway.
No, but you guys are probably closer than brothers because you spent so much time touring together. That's traveling like that is you get close.
Yeah, and that's always, especially when there's only two, because there's nobody else to be the bounce off if there's negative energy from the previous night, there's never like that, unless there's like a merch person, which sometimes there's like but even at that, like you don't have another alternative to direct your energy, or like even with just talking about like, man, that last night at Oklahoma City, like the sound was shitty, or it's always like it's just us two, kind of like. Well, yeah,
because you're on stage together. You're feeling that energy together. The merch person may be great to talk to, but they're not up there with you.
No, and that's where it's kind of. It's easy to be a two-piece band, but it's also like what you just said. You're tighter than even brothers because it's more just kind of like you're going through things that no one else you never experienced with anyone else,
right?
And we were talking about that again today. Is like whenever you'd leave back in the day during normal times of touring, and we both have other projects and things that we work on, and like, okay, well, I won't be available for the next 2 months because I'm going on tour. And most regular Joes, they're just like, enjoy your time off. I'm like, man, it's not I'm not going on vacation. It's work too. Like, I mean, we love it, but it's more often than not, a lot of the time you're like, this is hard work. And that goes into you and I talking about camping. It's like when you go camping somewhere, you're thinking like, you tell somebody like, I'm going camping, and they're like, oh, have fun on your vacation. No, camping's not really a vacation either. Like,
no.
It's like, go camping, especially with like young children and young little humans. It's like, it's not, you're actually, when you come back from camping, it's like, all right, now I need a vacation. Now I need
you're exhausted.
At the resort or the chlorinated pool.
My son was in Scouts for years, and man, going camping was fun. I really enjoyed every second of it, but it was, you're right. I mean, it wasn't a vacation. You've got so much stuff you're responsible for and things you're always worried about.
Yeah. The last one, our youngest had we got back here and he had like a tick under his armpit.
Oh,
so
wow.
Oh man. So you have to go through the whole, and this is in the midst of COVID, so we're already like, oh gosh, all right. So he's got to go get. He had to get antibodies just in case the tick, had some kind of left an infection in him and blah blah blah. I don't even know the science behind it, but anyway, he's fine.
That's good.
Yes.
But that's things you have to worry about that you don't necessarily have to worry about when you're on vacation.
Yeah, or on tour.
Yeah.
Ticks on tour, man.
Leeches. You got to worry more about the leeches on tour.
There's a band called Deer Tick. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah.
So we played a show at, I'm sorry, this is going like, we're going to just go on the tangents.
Oh, yeah.
Tick, the Deer Tick, who, I love the band like that. And we played, I can't remember if it's 1 or 2 shows, but we played at one of the venues down in Orange County here in Southern California. We were opening up for them. And so I get a little loose on stage, so I'm not sure like where I'm going to sometimes. So the lead singer, they had already had their, we're the opener, so the the main act like already has their gear on stage, just back a little bit, and I fell back towards his amp and basically knocked down his stack, blah blah blah.
Oh no.
But they're all like cool. It wasn't a big deal or anything. But then we went to Nashville to play a show, and one of our mutual friends is friends with him, and was like, "Oh, are you gonna go to the Restavrant show tonight?" He's like, "What? That motherfucker knocked down my stack?" And he was joking. He was joking. He was like, "No, I'm not going to that fucking show." But later, I found out he was just playing around. But because we talked after stage, he's like, "Dude, you owe me a stack," and I was like, "Man, we don't make much money." like we're the opening band. And he's like, "I'm just joking. It's fine." He started laughing. But anyway, so it's the Deer Tick. That's one of my Deer Tick stories. Well, the band's great anyway.
So how did you get into music in the first place? I mean, you're originally from Texas, and did you grow up with a lot of music in the house? Was it an important thing in the house?
Yeah, but nobody was like real musicians. It was. I think I grew up with a house full of huge music fans. Like we loved brother and sisters. My brother and sister, my dad, and my mom all loved music, and so it was always important and definitely. But then I learned later that my grandfather was like drum major for Texas A&M, which is like a military band, like marching band. So I was like, how did I not know this until I was in my 20s? I was starting to like noodle on the guitar and kind of like, well, yeah, but I don't, I have no. And then I found out like my grandfather's brother was a music teacher, and like they all knew piano really well. But I didn't learn all this until, I kind of, it was showing that I was taking guitar playing a bit more seriously. And then my dad was like, "Oh yeah, well it might be in your blood a little bit because Grandpa was like, drum major, blah, blah, one of the main dudes at the fighting Texas A&M marching band,
Yeah.
So it was definitely, a huge part of our lives, going to concerts and, whether it was ZZ Top, that was like one of my first like real concerts with my dad.
Nice.
And,
rest in peace, Dusty.
Yeah, that's right. And Frank Beard actually bought my uncle's house.
Really?
Yeah. So, but I was too young to even know, like, I did remember that Frank Beard was the guy that did not have the beard.
Right.
So I was like, asking my dad, like, why is he Frank Beard? I thought they gave each other their own names, but anyway, he bought my
height of irony.
So it was always around, and I can give credit to each one of my family members to they influenced what I was listening to as growing up, and then definitely turned into, my friends, going from punk rock to hip hop later on when I was trying to like have my own taste and stuff like that. And then it wasn't until later, I played guitar early and just standard tuning and just normal stuff and just like power chords and kind of like, oh yeah, I want to play in a punk rock band or something, but it was just that, I don't know. And then I'd be like, I'd rather go skateboard or something. But and when I was really young, like at 11, I was like, I want a guitar. But my mom said, you need to go learn piano first. So I was like, I don't want to learn piano. But she put me in lessons. And so the whole time I'm like, I just got to get through this so I can get a guitar and maybe get guitar lessons. So like halfway through the piano lessons, I'm like, this sucks, man. Like, and my piano teacher, he was fine, but I was having to get dropped off at his house, and I realized like one of my buddies like lived 8 houses down, so my mom would drop me off, and I was like, all right, see you, Mom, I'll see you after piano, blah blah. And then once I saw her out of sight, I just like fucking take off to my buddy's house, hang out there for almost an hour, and then return to my piano teacher's house and sit on the curb. My mom would pick me up, and then after 2 weeks she got a call like, oh, is Troy okay? He hasn't shown up for piano. And then she was like, Troy, come here. Show me what you've learned lately, on piano. And I played her like basically the same thing I'd played, 3 weeks ago. She's like, you have something to tell me. I'm like, what? No. And she goes, Mr. Nance, that was his name. He called me and told me what's up. And I was like, oh, man. I was like, yeah, I've been going to Jason's house. And so she's like, that's it. Out of piano. And then they were my dreams of guitar. So I had to find my own later on. But even at that, so then I started playing later on, like 17, 18. sorry, the timeline's getting jumped around, but
no worries,
so
man.
17 to 18, I'm like, all right, now I'm getting into punk rock, kind of like, or even Metallica, like Pantera. This is like South Texas, so
yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Texas boy, like here's what I'm gonna listen to. I don't know. So Helmet was one of them. I remember Helmet was like a huge.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, I want to play that stuff, and then all of a sudden I was like, this is kind of boring. I don't know. So I didn't pick up a guitar again. Like that whole dream faded until I was like old. I would say old for like starting. Play like 26 or something. So old for like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna start picking up the guitar again.
Old to pick it up, huh?
Yeah, and so then that's when I was listening to like a lot of blues, like straight up like hill country blues, and that all came from like R.L. Burnside and the emergence of him back through like John Spencer Blues explosion.
Yeah.
So once that opened my ears and eyes, or once he opened the ears and eyes to that world, I was like, oh, like I love this, like this kind of blues, like not the straight up McDonald's blues, like no offense to BB King or like whatever, not straight up like big old, like I don't know, that stereotypical,
like that Chicago style, or
yeah. I mean, I appreciate that. So don't get me wrong, I appreciate all it, but I was born in like this dirty, it's hill country blues, like R.L. Burnside, Mississippi Fred McDowell. It's just
Junior Kimbrough.
Yeah, those guys. I was like, all right, this is the shit. Like this is what I want to get into.
Yeah.
So maybe I want to try playing guitar. I want to play slide. I love Bo Diddley and like Chuck Berry, like basic 50s, and that's through my dad too. Like I was like, I love that music, but I want to get even dirtier. And those were the dudes. Those are like, these guys are fucking dirt.
Yeah.
So I want to get into this one. And that's when no intention of like, I'm going to start a band or like, I had visions. I was just like, I'm just going to focus on learning how to play slide guitar and just kind of nerd out on these guys and basically watch VHS tapes and DVDs. I just gotten out of a relationship. And so I was like, I'd go to work, come home, pop in a DVD or VHS tape and like play along to like these guys, their live versions of performances. And I kind of just focus on what they're doing and just put it into my own style. And then I was like, I want to play fast. So it's kind of like punk blues, just mixing, adding my own little, basically just speeding up what they were doing. It's still the kind of like same little riffs and hoppy. I mean, that's what I think. Hill country blues is just like a repetitive, but it's more danceable than the straight up Stevie Ray Vaughan blues or whatever, stuff. It was hill country was just, dirt and dirty dancing.
Yeah.
It was good.
What tuning are you using at this point? Is it because you said you kind of deviated off of standard tuning, and you kind of, unless you're Leonard Skinner, do you really have to play some interesting slide stuff? Yeah,
I do like a variation of open A, open G, and open D. So,
okay.
I mean, not all together.
Right.
I'd be really good if I could do that.
I got an 18-string guitar.
No, those are like each one of those the traditional open tunings of A, G, and D. I just kind of, do a variation of those. Just mainly just because knowing that we don't have a bass player, I just add a little bit more. One of the strings I detuned, so that'll be my bottom end since we don't have a bass player. If detunes, dude, and I'm definitely okay. You got to put an asterisk or whatever. I'm not a musician, like technical musician. So any terminology, do not come at me saying like, you don't even know what you're talking about. I'll tell you, I don't know what I'm talking about. I can show you what I do. When I use terms, and if I use terms that are wrong, I'll be the first to admit, like, I'm sorry. Here's what I do. I can bluff. I can bluff and look like I know exactly what I'm doing, but I'm bluffing all the time, like looking like a pro,
Hey,
or trying.
I don't know anything either, so I can kind of tune a guitar. I'm a very bad guitar player. I've been in one band, and it was just me and two buddies, and we never got out of the basement. And so, whatever you're saying, I'm gonna go with.
It's for any of your true technical followers or listeners. Like, I'm just gonna put that disclaimer out. Like, I'll tell y'all, I'm not trying to I'm not trying to fool you.
You're not dissecting the blues. You're not.
That is definitely for sure. I'm not dissecting the blues.
So you're going for the feeling.
I'm like directing it to another little part of the tree, just taking it my own way. To go back, that's where the second phase of my like guitar playing and where it's kind of how I got to where I am now. And then it started as like, I'm just going to, I played like to a couple of friends that came over and they're like, whoa, what have you been doing? Like how, like I haven't seen you for 6 months and all of a sudden like you're like you can play slide guitar. I'm like this is all I've been doing. I didn't go out. Or like I would like come home from work and again, like not having, the girlfriend anymore. I had a lot more free time. Yeah. But I was also like, I'm going to learn how to do this. I just put like blinders on and then I'd play for as long as I could and then maybe go get like ride my bike down to the bar, get like one last call drink, and then go back to my little apartment and pass out till work the next morning. And do the same over and over. But it was all like, to me, like just like, holy shit, this is a whole new world, Did
you or do you have a preference in your slide? I mean, do you use like a glass slide?
I start with a glass, and I'll use a glass if it's acoustic, preferably, just because you don't get that rattle.
Yeah. If
I'm doing an acoustic recording, or the very few times that I've had to play like an acoustic live set, but I'd rather have like even it's actually from a
nice,
chopped off the top of a bottleneck, and that's why they call it a bottleneck slide. And then since you're asking, because they're sitting right here, my other one's just like I cut a piece of stainless steel pipe.
Okay.
I'm also a welder, so luckily I have metal at my disposal.
Is that part of what you went to school? You went to school for architecture. Is the welding part of all of that?
Well, it started in architecture, and then I took like a year off of school, and then I went back to school, but in art. Then I learned like welding because I was doing sculpture. And then from there, my learning skills I got from college, right out of there. My last year of college, I started working for a BMX bike company and helped do all the cutting for bike frames and bike parts and stuff. So I learned more in the metal fab business. And then I was doing set design. So then set design, I was doing welding and carpentry skills. And so people that say, like, you don't learn anything in art school, like, I learned a trade.
Yeah.
I'm here now. Do all of it. So I will, people, there's been parents that have asked me, like, oh, my kid's interested in getting into art school. Like, is that smart? I'm like, you're asking somebody that graduated from art school and I'm still alive and I enjoy what I do. And I think it's great depending on how big is their ambition or like how dedicated. I mean, because you could go to art school and just be like, I just want to like get my parents off my back. I'm in college. I'm going, I don't know. Yeah. I was set. Like I thought like I would want to be a visual artist, this is what and then it got sidetracked once music came.
I did the same thing. It wasn't music, but I went to school for photography, so it got sidetracked pretty early. I had a teacher tell me once, because I had a bunch of issues going on at the time, and I had one of my last professors before I left. He said, you don't need a degree to be a photographer. Like, thanks. All right, I guess I'm out. See you.
Well, that's what happened with architecture. Like I was in my second year, and I was already kind of like, you know what? I'm really more focused on like doing like a straight up painting, than I am about designing a building, which I still like. I love architecture. I'm very inspired. Like, don't take anything away from it. But at the time, and then I was in a lecture with, one of my professors, and she was basically saying like, when you get out of architecture school, don't picture yourself going straight into, you being able to start designing and getting creative. Like, you're going to be an apprentice. You're going to be working for shit money, blah, blah, blah. I was like, wait.
Yeah. You're not selling the dream here.
Money doing, like, wait. And sure enough, I was like, I'm out, man. Like, I don't want to do this. Like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And that's when I moved to Austin, and I basically went to community college and like for a year and worked for the BMX bike company, and then got into University of Texas art school and finished there.
Okay.
So it kind of was like the same. The architecture, I was like, wait, if you're saying that, then I'm already questioning this whole plan here. So I'm out. I'll see you later.
Yeah. You're not even doing it. You're teaching now. Nothing against teachers. I love teachers. But you're not even an architect. You're teaching architecture.
So it's really bad.
Yeah, this is going to suck.
Yeah, I think I had, like, what kept me in it was like, okay, I'm going to, I'll be like, of course it was like Frank Lloyd Wright, like Corbusier, like, like the famous, like, well, at least maybe I can go straight into being like that guy. But of course, you learn more and more like, oh shit, they had to work 20 years as an understudy or like before they could even start designing their own shit.
Yeah, exactly. When did you start playing in public as Restavrant? And was this your first real band? I mean, have you been in bands before Restavrant?
No, besides my one-man band, which was Restavrant too. The whole like basis of this, like, I mean, now I like the band name, but at the time I was like, this is the dumbest band name ever. But I did that on purpose because I was like, I'm a one-man band. I wasn't taking it serious, and there was people like, you should just like play a party or play a show, I was like, all right, well, shit, I got to come up with a band name. And this is just me. I'm like, I'll just be Restavrant, the one-man band guy, like make it as, like, how can I make this more confusing? Yeah. Like, first it'll be like, there's a band playing. People will be like, oh, it's just a guy playing drums with his feet and like a harmonica and guitar.
Yeah.
And his name is Restavrant. It's spelled the right way. So I didn't even add the B yet. Like,
oh, wow.
It was still just Restavrant. And that was also because I hated that word because it didn't matter how many times I had to write it. I misspelled it every time. Somehow I misspelled that word. So I was like, I'm going to use the word that I always misspell consistently, and I'm going to be a one-man band. Because I really had no intention of, like, I'm going to be doing this 10 years later.
Right.
And so I did that, and then the original drummer, Jonathan, who's good friends of mine from my hometown, and he was doing his own music project. And he's a drummer, but he also like plays guitar. He's a technical musician. Like he knows, oh, that's in key of E.
Oh boy, one of those guys.
Yeah, he knew what he was talking about.
Okay, so that brings up a question of your drummers. Now, I've seen some videos and credits. Who is Jay State? And is that actually okay? Because when I looked you up on Discogs, and I love Discogs, it's an amazing website. They've got like tons and tons of releases. They have almost all of yours. In fact, they're missing the newest one. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. When I click on Tyler's link, it comes up as with his name, but it also comes up with Jay State. And I didn't know.
Jay State was the original. He was the first dude.
So they're not the same people. That was going to be one of my questions.
No, that's like Jay State. That's the first guy.
Okay.
That's when it went from me being one-man band Restavrant with a U.
Yeah.
And kind of like taking the piss out of myself. Just kind of like, I just didn't, I was still like, I was welding for a sculptor and working and doing like, it just was not in the vision of me being a true like band guy. Like I was just doing this for fun. Still am. I think we try. Now Tyler and I kind of keep it like try to just be like, this is what we do for. We walked into a trap one time of like, okay, this is what we gotta be serious, man. Like,
yeah. And
then we felt ourselves like we were like, what the fuck are we doing? I'm like, this is not who we are, even. Like, because like there's money involved and there's like the same old story, just kind of like. But then we're like, what the fuck? Like, what made this fun and like what made it kind of interesting even to like fans was that we were just kind of weird and just you'd never, I don't know, you didn't know what you were expecting, and especially combination of the name and like what our posters were like and visual stuff that was coming out. So anyway, but Jay State was like the original and one of my good friends, and he was out here in California too, but from Texas, and then he came over after going to the bar one night and just sat down. He's like, oh, so what have you been doing? I was like, oh, I've just been jamming on my guitar. And he's like, oh, play me something. So I just started playing. He's like, what the fuck? He's like, oh, man. And I had this old Wurlitzer, like, organ that, you know, I already had the pre-programmed drum beats, you know, it's very, like, church youth group-ish, kind of like, you know, like, basic, yeah. So he's like, let me just turn this on. So he turned that, like, one of those beats on, and then he grabbed whatever was in the kitchen of my crappy apartment and was like, I can beat on this. And so we just started jamming, and that's kind of how the whole, like, junk drums and mixed with electronica kind of drum machine-ish, you know.
Okay.
So you're getting kind of industrial drum, tech drum machine stuff mixed with just raw, like, found object.
DIY drums, yeah.
Yeah. Mixed with, like, my shitty guitars, whatever I could afford. You know? I just, like, have to make them work. And so we just jammed, like, through the night, and finally he's like, come to my apartment in Santa Monica, and, like, let's try to record. And sure enough, like, I went over there and we recorded that day and, like, put down like a couple of tracks, like, in his, like, little room in his apartment.
Oh, wow.
Like, probably the first version of Pro Tools or whatever it was. It wasn't even, and I had been recording a little bit, like, on, like, an old cassette, you know, like, 4-track thing. But and so they went from there, and then he's like, let's start working on shit. And I was like, what? No. Like, what? We're going to actually do this? And soon after that, like, we got our first show, and then it kind of went on from there. And
were you singing at that time?
Yeah. I'd call it singing.
The vocals.
I still am like, yeah, they were vocals. There you go. I still am like, I don't even know what it's like singing, but it's, I don't know it. But even back then, it was like very, you couldn't even tell what the fuck I was saying. And very distorted. I still use a slightly distorted vocal mic, you know, but even back then, it was just like, rah, rah, you know, like, so.
Watch me dropping nowhere, driving off to nowhere. I got no place, but I ain't gonna stay here.
Anyway, and so we played a few shows, and then it kind of took off a little bit. I mean, took off as much as of a restaurant could take off, I guess, you know, too. So, and then we just played a shitload, and I was just taking any show that I could. And then I think and then I realized, like, you know what? All right, we're doing this, but I think now's the time to, like, change it to a new band name. Like, I was just fucking around. Like, I don't, and so, like, we sent some demos out in this band label from Brooklyn, like, came back to us and was like, all right, yeah, I want to sign you. And I was like, wait. I got to change the band name. He's like, no. We love that. Like, the band name's so fucking weird that, like, that's part of the attraction. And then there's this venue out here. It's like, yeah, we want to do, like, a residency. Like, y'all play, like, 4 Wednesdays out a month. But change the band name because I'm not using restaurant. And they're like, no, that's why, like, we got calls or, like, people saying you got to hire that band with, like, the shitty name, Restaurant. Like, but now we're just known as, like, and then finally, and she's like, no, you're not changing it either. And so, like, a big venue here, and then, like, that label, and then we ended up recording with that label and doing the residency, and then it just kind of, it's like, shit, now I'm stuck with it. And,
yeah.
But at least by that point, like, Google is coming around, and so I was like, well, I got to at least put a V or something to mix it up, or else people are just kind of, like, stumble across, like, you know, Mexican food or, like,
yeah, I mean, you Google restaurant and wherever you're playing, it's gonna be hard to sift through all that to find you.
Well, luckily the V, like, now if you Google it, like, if you spell it with the V, like, we're the first thing that pops up.
Oh, yeah.
It works.
That was brilliant to do that. It looks almost Roman. I love it.
Well, that was, like, yeah, and that goes full circle back to my art history, and, like, and I'd been in Italy for a little bit and love, like, the whole every story that came out of the Roman Empire and, that the history of that country, I was like fascinated by. So I was like, okay, well, this gives me even more ground to like, okay, I'll put the V, and I was using like an old like Roman kind of embossed font for a while. And I still do that, but yeah, I definitely give Italy credit. I'm sure they're asking for it.
Yeah. Does Tyler use a similar drum kit? I mean, is his all like found stuff?
Yeah.
You have a kind of a country influence.
Yeah. I guess there's no like, definitely. I mean, it's funny because, and there was a while there that I was wearing like a country suit, and it was kind of, it's almost out of, me. There's definitely the influence there, but I was like, there's no way that we play country music.
Right.
I always love like those very ornate, like country, like there's a dude named Nudie.
Yes.
Like Nudie suits. So I was like, man, if I had the money, I'd get one of those. But I went to East LA, and like there's a Mexican dude that was making pretty amazing like country suits. So I was like, oh wow, I'm gonna go buy one of those. That'll be my like kind of like bootleg Nudie suit.
Yeah.
And so I wore that for a while, and but more just out of like, I thought it was fun to like just play almost punk rock music, but be dressed like a 1950s, Hank Williams.
Yeah, Graham Parsons.
Yeah. So
or Jack Ruby. I saw a couple pictures. You almost kind of look like Jack Ruby. In the best way possible.
No, thank you. I'll take that as a Jack Ruby compliment.
Yeah. You don't get those very often.
No.
So
you don't give any Jack Ruby references,
you got to be a certain age, I think.
Even just talking to Tyler, he's literally like 10 years younger than me, at least. Yeah. And I forget about it. And like we'll be talking about shit, and I'm like, oh man, you weren't even alive at that point. And when the second phase of my guitar playing, I was like, I was old, 26 or 20. I really felt like I'm too old to like start playing music.
Yeah.
I thought I was so old.
So the question I had was about Tyler. He's not here to defend himself, so let's talk about him. Does he play the same kind of drum kit, like the found objects, the wheel and the bucket?
Yeah. His is even more developed, if you could say that. It's funny because I'm the one that usually like makes these drum kits, and I've only had like really 4 drummers that have played live shows with me. Okay. But 2 main ones, Jay State and Tyler. But then I had like 2 other buddies of mine fill in between those 2 guys. I literally was like, well, here's the drum kit. There's no, But amazingly, like, usually they're like, oh, this is, it's almost fun for them. Like, okay, cool. Yeah. Like, I don't have to play the same old shit. And like, literally for all 4 of them, I was like, man, just play. If you keep the time and play the beat, really just go, like, do what you want to do. Like, make your own little changes. But as long as you keep in time and keep me, like, staying on the track, because I'll go off too. Yeah. Like we need you. Like, there's no bass player. Like, as long as you're keeping time, you can do whatever rolls, whatever kind of like mischief, whatever the shit you want. But you got to play this like shitty drum kit. Yeah.
So the kit I saw consistent. It's got a kick, a snare, a wheel, a license plate. The the hi-hats, like license plates, they actually used to kind of like clap together, but now it's like Tyler's like, fuck that, like, I'm just gonna use it as like another thing to hit. But now all his shit like closes up into this camping trunk. Again, like camping's coming back into our story, into this like Foot Locker camping trunk. So, and that's literally like what when we go on tour, like you can just check that in as luggage, and all his like weird shit is like in this trunk. So we get it, like go to baggage claim and like pull this like Foot Locker camping trunk up, and like no one knows like that there's a drum kit in there. But then it's like the kick drum is connected to his electronic, drum kit. So a cable will come from the sound guy
and he plugs that in, but it goes into this sensor. So it's like a kick drum, but like his little mallet from his like the foot pedals hitting like a electronic sensor.
Oh, okay.
The only thing that's real, I think, is the snare drum. The rest is all like the tire wheel, sometimes a folding metal chair. There's like, he has some other sensor pad that's another electronic drum. So it's all like,
wow. There's
no more pre-programmed drum beats, which Jay State used to do. He used to program like a simple like drum beat, like the church organ drum beat. Right. He used to program different beats, and he could trigger that off and on. And then he'd play like the junk along to it. Tyler actually plays, he's actually having to hit shit to make that electronic sound. Like, so it's, he's literally playing it. So it's like, yeah, why? I can't think of the other stuff, but it's like, I know there's like 4 found junk items, and then there's 2 electronic items, and then 1 actual snare, but it's like a shitty snare that he found somewhere, and I spray painted gold, and that's like our gold drum. Gotta have the gold drum. But he's the perfect dude to, again, and I think, you know, for a drummer, it's like you're the other half of the show. It's not like you're behind me, like, especially with Tyler, like we've been doing this for a long time, so it's kind of like you're part of the creativity here. Like, so give me any input you want, and I'm really pretty much open to it. You know, like, let's, whatever you want to, like, if you're hearing something different, or even during the live set, if you want to just go off and freestyle, you know, like, I'm all for it. Like, let's get weird, you know? And so.
Awesome. And do you guys write together, or are you the primary songwriter?
I write all the words, I would say that.
Okay.
And I usually come up with like one main riff, and like kind of like, or like a very simple structure to the song. And then I bring it to him, or even remotely, like I'll send him a recording and say, just start brainstorming a drum beat to this, you know, or if there's anything that you think sounds really bad, tell me I should change it. Which is like, and again, like I don't take myself that seriously. Like, there's a few times I've been like, fuck no, I'm not changing that, you know, but that's very, like, maybe once or twice in our whole musical career that's happened. But, or he'll be like, you know, this vocal or this chorus should be like, you know, just repeat that one line. You don't need to mix it up, you know. So he adds to, you know, it's basically I'm writing a story that turns into a song, or like some fucking mishap that I've had to go through, or, you know. it's but I'll do the songwriting, lyric writing. I'll do like the basic, here's the vibe of the song with the guitar, and then we combine our taste or like visions on how the final song ends up. But and I think that probably what is like Jay State, I think he wanted to be more involved with it wasn't that I was against it, but I think because he was writing his own songs anyway, and he played guitar too, and I think but Tyler's just like this, you know, us doing this podcast, like I'll be driving, you know? Even if I was gonna say like you want to add to the lyric writing or some of the, he would probably tell me like, no, I'm no good at it. Or maybe maybe he's fishing for me to be like, you know what, here, please be a part of this songwriting process, you know.
I really need you.
He's part of the music songwriting, you know, whatever that, if there's a difference part, you know, but he's definitely part of how the song ends up musically. But I think lyrically it's and I'm not like, I'm a control freak, but not in that aspect. I'm very open. If something sucks, like, you can tell me, I'm not going to be like hurt by it.
Right. You're not precious about it.
Happened. Like, I'll be like, here's a song. He'll be like, not really feeling it. Okay. So we don't even work on it.
So that brings up something. A lot of your songs are, you know, pretty upbeat, very electric. Kind of goes back to the architecture, like, you know, big sonic slabs of music. But you have one song that I thought was so different from all the others, and I see it now.
I see it now. I see it now. I see it now. I see it now. sweat songs sing through women. My heart beats the time. This country's lost the way.
Oh yeah.
That song, it's a lot softer, but it's got like this country psychedelicness to it. It's a lot different than everything else. Like everything else.
Yeah, that was recorded with Jay State, and that was out in Joshua Tree, like so out here in California.
Oh wow,
desert.
cool.
So I play slide, but our buddy he plays lap steel on it, so it adds another different style of slide to it. So lap steel is a full-on different type of slide than bottleneck like blues slide. Lap steel is like that almost like something like a little tabletop thing.
Yeah.
So that's where that like space cowboy sound comes from too. But there's a few like I kind of like almost have to get them out of my system. There's like a few I get like all right, I want to write a slow song, but it's funny because when it comes to a live show, we never play these slow songs. So it's like they're just there for the recordings, just to almost get them out of my
get out of
chest.
Your system there. Yeah.
Get it off my chest. So, and every once in a while we'll do it like a slow, and it's funny because like there's been times where somebody in the audience like, there's a song called Lion Man, which is a slow one.
Now, picture you in a grassy skirt, shoulders, your best friend, dressed like Kate Women. How can I get this image out of my mind? Tie my shoes together.
Interesting video, by the way.
Yeah, that was that was done by one of our buddies too. Like, Aaron, I'm gonna do this video. You care what I do? I was like, no, I don't care. And then he just like, oh, come over. I gotta do like one. And I'm wearing that cowboy suit. I think in that one too. Yeah, it looks like the old school like chat room.
Looks like you two are just checking out some Russian brides or something. It's
yeah. But what's that called? Like on the internet, like God, where it's just like anyway.
I'm too old.
It looks like you're just like searching for whether it's a Russian bride or some kind anything you're into at that point. Maybe you should at least like one dude picked it for his like skate video music, so maybe I should direct people to that instead of the Russian bride video. Go check out the skate video.
Yeah. So what kind of guitar do you use? Because it looks old and beat up. Sorry.
Yeah. I'll take the compliments as they come.
I love it, man. I think it's awesome. It's got this incredible sound.
I think, like I was saying, like originally it was because I was just going to pawn shops, and I kind of like looked into like what were those guys even playing back then? You know, like in the pre-war or like post World War II. You know, kind of late 40s or 50s, and it's kind of they're getting whatever they could from like Sears Roebuck and the brands from that those guys could mail order were a brand called Silvertone and K. So
yes.
And I think there's a few others I can't, off the top of my head, that I can't think of. But those are the two brands that I was like, all right, I'm just going to search for that. And back then, they weren't that cool. So I could find them at a pawn shop for like, $70, $50. And then I could go on the days of eBay. I guess eBay's still around, but I don't use it. But back then, eBay, I could get like crazy deals from people. And but now they got they're kind of cool.
Yeah.
So you go on eBay now, it's like, what the fuck? Like,
thanks, Jack White.
$700 for that?
Yeah.
So it originally started because it was what I could afford and what I saw, like the guys that, like I said, looking at their DVDs and VHS tapes, and basically I was learning from those dudes' videos. But now I just like, I really don't want to play anything else. I play like a Telecaster that I've kind of modified, and that's the only modern guitar. But yeah, they're all Ks and Silvertones that I've rebuilt or electrified. Like I put like Jackson pickups in like an old K, but they're all like just shitty 50s guitars, hard stops.
You got these beat up old guitars. Well, you did. Now you got a nice Telecaster, but my son.
No, it's not nice. That's just. It's a Squire. I mean, I didn't even know what the difference. Like a Squire is like the junior version, or like the very base model.
Yeah.
But I was like, I'm gonna get a Telecaster. But that's only used for like 2 songs. But I still just use my shitty Ks and silver tones. But they're kind of like, again, modified. Like I kind of put new gear in them, or like put my own little additions to them. But
do you use a lot of effects?
When people have like handed me like, oh, try playing this sweet 57 Gibson. I'm like, oh, this is cool, but I don't know. There's some, maybe it's mental. There's some connection with the shit that I play.
Yeah, that makes sense though. Yeah. That makes total sense though.
Yeah, I don't think I don't. Apart from that Telecaster, and even the Telecaster, like I wood engraved the body, like did my own kind of design on,
nice.
and took out the pickups and put 2 new pickups in there. So it's not the same thing. It's been rigged.
Yeah. Do you use a lot of effects? Because you've got this really aggressive tone on those things.
I use the same. I mean, again, I think it goes back to like just having these certain guitars going through, like, they're basic pedals that any guitar player would go to Guitar Center or whatever the fuck your local guitar place is. Yeah. You can find them. But I just kind of found my little formula mixed with those old guitars. I think makes it, there's no sound that compares to it, if you're going to try to make it without the shitty guitars.
Well, that's one of the cool things, that those guitars at the age they're at now, they're unique in and of themselves. It's not like grabbing a Strat off, something from Guitar Center. You plug that in, it's going to sound the same as another Strat, and that can be great, but your sound is a lot more unique than that. And I think it's because of the equipment that you're using, the age of the equipment itself.
Yeah, and I think being like I'm still making art, and I still have an appreciation for certain wood and like material, and knowing that the wood that they use from the 40s or 50s, even into the 60s and 70s, it was such a totally different quality than the type of wood that we get these days. Yeah. And so there's something in my head too that I'm like, that was just a time. If you're going to make something out of wood, you're getting I don't care if it's from Sears, you're getting a pretty amazing product right there just by the choice of material they use. And so it's like this, I'm very nostalgic, and I love history, and I love like stories and tradition. And so just having that in my hand, knowing that like this is what I'm playing, it also makes me feel better when I'm playing these songs, and just kind of like, I'm not going to try to play anything else. And if I do, I will kind of like change it into my own style. Yeah. And it's like, I've had guitars stolen before, and it sucks. Like other people are like, oh, well, you got money. Like you could buy a new one. I'll never find one just like that one. You can't find it. I've already like changed it into my, and it's from like the late 50s. I can't find that. Yeah, exactly.
Like we were just saying, if it's a Strat, you can just go to a Guitar Center and buy another one. But with the modifications you've done on it and the age that it's achieved, it's unique.
Yeah, and those are, I mean, without sounding too cheesy, or like, I look at them as like their own little art pieces, or like, and they've had a life of it. Like, I have no idea where they came from, besides off the hook of the pawn shop, or like through the mail from, like ordering this from Wisconsin. Some lady just sent me this guitar she found, her father-in-law had. So it's kind of like, where'd he get, that it's all, and seeing the wear and tear on them. And so it's like, a lot of people are like, oh, you got to be really careful. Like, I use my guitars as like, these are made to be used. I'm sorry, I don't give a fuck. Like, they're going to get dirt and blood and beat up. So I'm not going to, it's like somebody that buys like a a pickup truck and is like, oh, well, I don't want to put anything in the bed of the truck. It's like, well, then why'd you buy a pickup truck if you're like,
yeah,
you're not going to use it as a truck, you know?
These instruments were meant to be played. If you don't play them, they die. Yeah. They lose something, and they stay alive and they stay in shape by playing them.
Yeah. It goes back to, to my reference to like even a car. Like if you have this really, or an old classic car, if you keep driving it, it's going to stay running. And so, but the moment you like just leave it in the driveway, it's going to go to, it's like another, it's like, oh shit, who's the writer? Oh man, George R.R. Martin, like the Game of Thrones writer.
Yes, yeah.
There was something, oh man, it was perfect for this moment. But he's like, one of the lines and I always thought about it too, because it referred to almost like one of my guitars, like a sword, once you hang it up, like it's built to be like used and like fight with, and like you keep shining it and keep using it. Once you hang it up, it just rusts and like gets weak. Yeah. And so if you're not, anyway, it's sorry, but like
even Valerian steel will get weak.
Yeah. No, seriously, like the life is just once you hang it up, it's just gonna die. It's just like there it is. And so, and then it refers to the body, like. Once you're like, if you're not gonna, like refers like one of the knights, he's like, if you stop fighting, if I was just gonna hang myself up, I'm just, something like that.
Yeah.
I always thought of like his sword, George R.R. Martin. His sword reference always reminded me of like my guitars. I was like, if I hang this thing up or like treated it like this, just it's whatever, I'm just gonna not use it or put the wear and tear on it.
It's too precious.
That's what keeps it alive.
Yeah, exactly. So you got this album that just came out, this EP, and it kind of cracked me up because it's called 4 for Being Physical, and it's 5 songs.
Yeah.
Which kind of goes along with the humor of the band. I like the humorous aspect of the band because, you've got the album Restavrant returns to the tombs of Giuliano Medici with the extra D, which I like.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if you've heard, because somebody asked me about that before, the returns to Medici, and that was on purpose. Like I was, and back in the day, somebody reviewed it and was kind of like, yeah, the music's fine, blah, blah, and the band name, like, what the fuck, the B, like, they think they're Roman or something, and then they even misspelled the name of their album. And I've always wanted to be like, I wanted to find that guy and like, you dumb fuck, man. Like that was on purpose. Like both those were on purpose. Like I was just joking. Like, why would I name it Medici? Like that's already been used. Like the whole joke is like returns to the tomb of Medici. Like maybe it's like somebody. What if I have a stutter? Like, So I've given up my search for that guy, but. But he did say like the music was okay.
It's okay.
But yeah, and then the I mean, it's all like, I mean, it probably all comes back to bite me in the ass, but like my sense of humor, like I would think it's kind of like witty sense of humor, like I thought it was like smart, but it's probably not. But anyway, because I'm basically like I'm making fun of like how serious we take these things, but but then again, so I was not meaning, I wasn't sure like how many tracks were going to be on this EP anyway. So, but I just like 4 for Being Physical came from watching a hockey game or something. I don't know, like, he gets 2 minutes for fighting, whatever it is, again, hockey guys, I'm not sure like what the real penalty is, but I know like 2 minutes for, you get put the penalty box. And so I was joking, I was like, 4 for Being Physical, like, and it was just like a play on words, like 4 with 4. And then it just sounded good. And I was like, that's the name of the EP. And then Tyler was like, well, is it the name of one of the songs? I was like, no. Like, well, how many tracks? I was like, I don't know. Like, maybe we can get 3 on this. And he's like, and then it ended up being 5. And he's like, we still didn't even make it 4 songs. I was like, perfect.
Well, you can't name it 5 for Fighting because that's a shitty band from the 90s.
That's right.
So you can't do that. But
it definitely, and it was coming like from, oh god, there was all these kind of influences came in at once, and there was like Olivia Newton-John, like "Let's Get Physical." Like, that was like stuck in my head too, you know.
oh, you should have done that cover. You did a really wild cover. I was not expecting Blue Monday to pop up.
How does it feel to treat me like you do when you lay your hands upon me and told me who you are? I thought I was mistaken. I thought I heard your words. Tell me how do I feel? Tell me now how do I feel?
Man, I even think the way we do that song live is even better than the recording. I wish but I mean, the recording is great too, but live it's super, even though we've only played it twice. We've only been able to do like 2 shows. But anyway, those 2 shows, those 2 performances of that song, I should do a cover of that one. Let's Get Physical. I want to do one of because I think it's more fun to do like covers of very juxtaposed genres. You know, like we could easily do like some punk song or like a blues song, but it's more fun to do like, whether it's like, like a Depeche Mode or like Erasure or like, you know, like pick like a very, or go, you know, to Madonna, or like one of the songs I started working out was like the Go-Go's song, like Vacation.
Oh, nice.
So like go to like girl pop songs, like us doing a girl pop song in our...
You know, one song I've always wanted to hear somebody cover, and I've never heard it, is Space Age Love Song by A Flock of Seagulls. I would love to hear somebody do something crazy with that, lots of feedback and noise. I think that would be awesome.
Well, I gotta go, man. I gotta start working on it.
One for fighting.
I'm gonna write it down.
That's your new single.
I'll try it. I'm a fan of them. I got to revisit that song. I can't remember how the song goes. Your songwriting, you living through these like, experiences or like putting yourself through this shit, like you're able to, material just keeps coming. Like I have no problem like finding something to write about, like, you know, and then you're the energy that you want to like kind of just get rid of or get out of your system. Like, I think that's where, like you said, the danger and like having that when you start playing it live and like shit just explodes. So once that's gone, it's like, okay, so like we can still play this music, but it's not like that aspect, which was probably huge, was like, is gone.
But you do a lot more than just music. You do the cover art for the albums. You do built Quilt, which is amazing stuff. You know, and I've got some questions about that, but you also like black and white photography. You've written a book. I mean, you do a lot of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, and I think this goes back to like me talking about my wife saying like, you know, you need to, go have a drink. You know, like, because like, I'm just, it's like, I'm just kind of like grasping for things, you know, but also that's what, like kind of keeps me happy. I have so many things that I'm interested in, and like I want to get into this or blah blah blah. And I always have in the back of my mind though, like you don't want to be what is it? God damn, what's that saying? Like master of none.
Jack of all trades, master of none. Yeah.
I write the songs, buddy. Yeah. But I can't think of that fucking phrase.
You're the lyricist in our band.
Yeah, jack of all trades, master of none. Anyway, so I keep that in my mind. I'm like, okay, like the whole don't spread yourself thin or like too many, But anyway, but I have to like these now. I've narrowed it down, so I have like two worlds that I'm like keep myself occupied in when I'm not being a father or a husband. Yeah. So, which is a whole nother story.
Yeah, that one.
But anyway, so. Yeah, the art thing and the built quilt thing kind of just came out of nowhere too. Kind of like the music. Like I wasn't intending to like, this is what I'm going to do, but I did it, like made a few pieces like that and that genre of like making literally like wooden quilts with my wood burnt drawings on them. And so did a couple of them, and then like people were like, "What the like? I want one, but can you do it like this size?" I'm like,
Wow.
So okay, and that was all. My mom was a quilter, and it's basically I'm gonna do one piece for her as a memorial, and she passed away. And so I was like, I made one, and then that's where it started. And I was like, it was easy, it was fun, or like very instinctual. Like I maybe just being surrounded by like being in her quilting studio and being around like those compositions and how she laid out a piece. I was like,
patterns and everything.
Yeah, it's all it's like geometric. You're combining shapes to create kind of weird eye candy, And so, especially when it's like different layers of wood or like levels, and then having like I'll either have it engraved or like wood burnt onto it, and so that turned into that new body of artwork. And then I was approached by a publishing company to write, basically, just walk people through, like, if you want to do this, which it's not like I want to like hog my secrets. No, I don't want to. Like, I'm more like I'd love for people to get up and make your own thing. Go do your own shit,
Yeah.
Please. And if this is like the launching pad or like the diving board for you to do it, then sure. Here's my little tricks.
Right.
And here's what I do in the wood, like my wood shop, to make these things. And so it's kind of like a half gallery book, half instructional woodworkers book to create your own pieces. And it's all out of like material that I either find on the street or off of old jobs. Or,
wow.
Yeah. So I try not to, which goes back to my guitars.
That's true. That's a good point.
I'm recycling, but keeping the life of these pieces of material alive, I guess. Because we have so much shit anyway. Like there's tons of material out there. Like go through the neighborhood and like people, whether it's IKEA furniture they're getting rid of or like an old like really nice like oak piece and that you can get nice wood from. And yeah, that just turned into my art career, I guess. And now I'm, which was my goal this whole time. I was like, somehow if I could just like be making music and making my art is what I'm trying to do. The book writing thing was crazy. Like I have a whole new like respect for people that do that day to day or whatever, or 6 month to 6 month. Like shit, man. and all, thank God for my editors and because I can luckily and I was telling Tyler this earlier. I was like I can type like a real typer, like I'm not just like fucking using it. Like senior year in high school, I had typing as a class, and probably one of the best classes I took because I can, and as fast as I'm thinking, I can type just that fast. Wow. But I need an editor to like organize my thoughts. So it goes to my wife, my first editor, and then it goes to the next editor, and then after her, the third, like the fourth editor. So I have all these little angels on my shoulders saying like, "What were you thinking?" Yeah. Dude, I'm just writing. Man. You told me to just go. I'm just telling you what I do, because I'll just start like. And I take all the photos myself, like of the process. So anyway.
So I have a question about that. You have experience working, building studios and doing work. Can any of that artwork be used as like sound deadening?
Good question, Mark.
Thank you.
They would definitely be really good. Well, I'll start from the beginning. I used to like help design and build recording studios, and I did that for like 4 years. So I know a little bit of the engineering and design work of like what makes a room sound good. Okay. And I never had the intention of these things being something that a studio could use, but it kind of just the layers of it and way that whether you want your sound being absorbed or you want it being bounced off, or like, because you want it all like layers or different depths, right? And so this brings up somebody you should get on your show, John Dwyer from the OCs. I don't know if you know that band.
No.
They're really good. Because he's another artist too and a musician. But check out the OCs. They're really good.
Okay, yeah.
OSEES. And so John was like,
okay, yeah, I've heard of them. Yes,
they're good. He's originally from like Rhode Island, then he moved to San Francisco, and now he's in LA. But,
Lil Rhodey.
But he's the one that's like, man, these would be amazing for like studios. And I was like, oh shit, I didn't even think about it. So yeah,
that's
I think
awesome.
we're in the works of they being installed in some studios. But you're right. Yeah,
A studio / art installation.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Damn it, I'm not the first one.
Again, it's combining my worlds together, you know, like.
Exactly. Well, I know you've got some shows coming up. By the time this episode is out, the first 2 shows will have already occurred. So what's coming up for the band? Do you have anything beyond those 2 shows?
I think we'll do one more in October. I wish I knew the date at this point, but no, you know it's crazy is that right. I mean, this EP's kind of been on hold for a while anyway because of the world situation and what we're all going through, and so. But in the midst of that, and I couldn't like go hang out with Tyler, and so we're like still just, not even for the purpose of posting anything on social media or whatever, but just our way of trying to, keep our, without hanging up the sword, like not keep our minds together and active. We were like, oh, here, either I would have him just record a beat, whatever he came up with, do like a video of him playing some beat, and then I would play along to it, or I would come up with like a guitar part and like play a song, and then I would send it to him, and he would just combine like his. So it was never us like, okay, ready, let's go. It was like, I'm gonna send you a video, you send me one too, and so. But then all of a sudden we're like, well, shit, now we got like 10 new songs, 8 new songs.
Wow.
So I think just through all that of us like trying to stay active and sane, I guess, and keep our musical swords sharp and staying on top of ourselves, I guess. Now is like, okay, well, so I'm pretty sure we'll get back in. We don't even go into like a real legit studio anymore. So when we record, it's not like we're obviously we don't need like super high end like, oh no, that's not the best quality. Like we could probably record an amazing album like in fucking garage, shoot cellar or something, a nice wine cellar. But yeah. So anyone out there, if you need so I think the next step is like we're just gonna either make another video. Like we're about to have a new video come out, which will probably come out before this. But then we'll probably do like another, because even those are starting to get fun, like another art process and making some visual, like a movie with our music. Now that I'm getting older, I'm like, I am working with. I found a cinematographer that. Like he and I work well together. So it might be fun to just like keep making bigger and like more elaborate productions of our music videos. So
Restavrant does Game of Thrones.
Yeah, dude. I don't know. Now that I've used the sword reference multiple times now that's come up. But
you gotta have dragons in your next video.
Oh man, I wish I had the budget.
And what was her name? Olivia Wilde? Is that who played Mother of Dragons?
Daenerys, or dude, I don't know. You know what I would do? Like whenever that was going on, is people like, oh look, this actor's playing. I was like, do not show me shit. I don't want to see a headshot or anything because I don't want to be taken away from like my little. I know my world of those shows, and like,
I know. I know exactly what you mean.
See a headshot, like some dude wearing a turtleneck and like his scarf and like some weird haircut, like no, you're supposed to be like that guy.
Wait, you mean her hair isn't naturally silver like that?
Yeah.
Like, what? I don't want to see that until the series is over.
No, yeah, like even now I don't even want to see, like, I don't, like, you even mentioning her name, I was like, no, don't tell me her.
Yeah. And that may be wrong. I don't remember her actual name. I may have just made that up.
I hope you're wrong, man.
Well, this has been a blast. Where can people find the new EP? How can they keep track of upcoming tour dates?
Well, the easy way is like restavrant.com, RESTAVRANT.com, which is, sorry, again, not the best. But now, actually, you know, it's come into, now I like love it. But yeah, the shitty band name. But anyway. Oh, but that's let me break it down for you. Let me dissect that.
Yes.
So look here, some science.
Dropping some science on the podcast.
So look at this. You break that word up. You know, I'm into visuals. I'm into audio, right? So, and then, no, seriously, but Restavrant. So rest, REST, AV, audio visual, and then rant. So, you know, you got to rest and you got to rant through life. And you're going to hear some things and see some things, whatever. Anyway.
Like you knocking over somebody's cabinet, some amplifiers. But
you know what? I have no problem apologizing to people either. So, you know, accountability, dude. Accountability and honesty gets you further in life. Anyway, so.
Let you sleep at night, too.
Yes. Yeah. Anyway, that's a whole nother. That's the
second podcast, part 2.
But let me get back to business. New High Recordings is who put the record out. So you can find it through newhighrecordings.net. I think they have a .net website. But
I'll tag them on the post.
You can easily go through restavrant.com, and then the other like simple shit like at Restavrant. So remember, it's AV rest, AV rant. So Restavrant. Some people, and I used to even say like just restaurant.
Yeah.
Anyway, at Restavrant. Or the old school Facebook, you know, you search it. If you Google that word, that shitty word, you're going to find us. And then, 4 for being physical. And then, even by the time this comes out, I'll probably hit you up and be like, okay, we're in the studio again.
Yeah. Well, we just have to have you back on.
Oh, please do. Yeah, we'll get to,
maybe get Tyler on next time.
Oh, dude. That's what I was telling him. I was like, if you come on, you think I should keep talking? Like, if both of us are combined, then we're just going to, like, go off in the, like, old storytelling of, like, mishap.
They're shutting the lights off on me. It's in my own house, and they're shutting the lights off on me.
And it's the last call.
Oh, it is. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. And
cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah, we'll get weird.
Yeah. Awesome, man. It was awesome having you on. Thank you so much.
Yeah, man.